Hello, my name is Marcus and welcome to Tabletop Reviews, where I'm bringing you a proper review. It's been a while, but this is Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, the trick-taking game. Very long title, of course. It quite indicates that there's going to be The Two Towers and the Return of the King trick-taking games. Sometime in the future, maybe this year, maybe next year, I can't know for certain, but it is definitely something that I'm looking forward to. So, in the setup portion for this one, I'm going to show you a Chapter 1 setup for 4 players and talk about a little bit of variance for 3 players. But I will try to avoid getting into like the spoiler material of what comes later in the box. So just focusing on Chapter 1 and the gameplay of the game. And then up here at the talking, I will mention a few of the things that might happen. So I'll sort of give you a spoiler like, hey, look out. But yeah, let's get it to the table, see it set up and play it.
Okay, so let's get Chapter 1 set up here. So you remove these, you remove these. These things are useful in just a second here. And it's lovely, it has this little string here that you just open up and you get all the cards out. All the rest is of course not needed. These are just some play rate things. Alright, so let's look at this here. So, these are all the different cards. These will be shuffled up and distributed depending on the player count. It is 12 cards for each if you're 3 players and 9 cards for each if you're 4 players. So, and 1 card is left. Alright, now that card is called, hold on, let me just check Gandalf. It's called the Lost card, and a character like Gandalf has something to do with the Lost card. But let me just put these guys out here. Now, there are 4 characters to be used in this chapter, which means all of them are going to be used, but each chapter booklet looks like this. So you have the name of the chapter, and then you have the characters that are used, and the victory condition. Most of them are the same, finish all the characters. But you might notice Frodo and Bilbo has the star. Now, this is important. You can put this on here. In a game with less than 4, or if you have more characters than 4, it's important because these 2 has to be used in this chapter. They have to. These 2 are then just available choices. But in a 4-player game, you'll be using all of them. So let me just see here, because the player, oh, that was lucky. The player with the 1 of ring automatically gets Frodo. Now this ring one here is actually flipped to this colorless side. So the player with the 1 of ring is automatically player Frodo. Then the rest of the players will look at their cards and choose a character going from Frodo and then clockwise. So Bilbo's condition is win 3 or more tricks. Pippin's is he needs to win the fewest or be tied for the fewest tricks, and he has an extra setup here. I'll talk about that in a second. And Gandalf just needs to win 1 or more tricks. So what you could say is, if you have a really strong hand, which means you have a lot of high cards, there is 1 to 8 of every card. So you say that's a 7, that's an 8, couple of 5s. I think I have a good reason to think maybe I can win a lot of tricks, so I'll take Bilbo here. And then the next player will be looking at his hand and thinking, well, my hand is in the middle of the park, so I probably have a chance of winning a couple of tricks here. And then the last player is of course forced to just choose Pippin, and if you're lucky he has some fairly low cards because he needs to win very few tricks. Gandalf will take the Lost card, that's one of his abilities, and he will exchange with Frodo. Now exchange simply means trading 1 card for another card. So he will be looking at his hand and thinking, what can I give Frodo that will aid him very much? And maybe he thinks a mountain card, because then I have no mountain cards. That's a good card to give him. So he gives Frodo the mountain card. Frodo will look at the mountain card. Now Frodo cannot exchange the 1 of ring, but maybe Frodo will want to get rid of a ring card, because Frodo's win condition is to win. Well, this is the 3-player one, so the 4-player one is to win a couple of ring cards. So he will give him the ring card to hopefully win it from him, Gandalf. Gandalf will of course have one extra card than all the others. You can't see Gandalf up there. See? And Bilbo has none, and Pippin he can exchange with Frodo, Sam, or Merry, so he also exchanges with Frodo. And of course, he wants to win the fewest tricks, so he probably wants to get rid of a pretty high card. What do I have that's a very high card? Well, I've got the Six of Hills. Let's give that one to Frodo. And Frodo will look at it and he will know, well, he wants the low cards, because again, he quoted that the 8s, no, bad idea to give him that, or the 7s, very bad idea to give him that. But maybe this 2 of Mountains is an idea to give him. Just so to give Pippin the low cards, the other guys can have the high cards. But Frodo will start the trick. Now he can choose any cards he wants to play, except as long as this ring is black like this, he cannot play any ring cards to start with. But he might play a 7 of Mountains, because then he's got rid of mountain cards. It's a good idea to get rid of cards. And then you go around and Bilbo. Now Bilbo, if he has mountain cards in his hand, which he does, he's a very unorganized, I'm sorry, but which he does have mountain cards in his hand. Well, he needs to play those. If he didn't, he could play whatever he wanted to, but he has mountain cards and needs to play these. And he of course needs to win quite a few tricks. And he knows if he plays this 8, he's guaranteed to win this trick. So he could maybe do that, but for the purpose of this one, he chooses to play the 3 instead, to get rid of a low card. That's the purpose of this one, I'll tell you why. And then you look at Pippin, and he has a whole bunch of mountain cards there. And this is of course an opportunity for him to get rid of the highest possible card, which is the 6. And then you look at Gandalf. Now remember, Gandalf got rid of his mountain card. He doesn't have any mountain cards. But he also knows that Frodo has the highest mountain card, which means he's going to win this trick no matter what. So if you don't have a card that matches the trick, which in this example, you can just throw a card out and you get rid of that card. So what would be clever to do is of course throw out the ring card and give that to Frodo. So Frodo wins this trick, but because a ring card was thrown out like this one is flipped over to the colored side, and you can now start a trick with a ring card. So you could sort of put this one here and the other ones to the side, just to mark, well, Frodo has 1 and he needs 2. So I think that would be clever for Frodo to do now, maybe, is play that 1 of ring. And why? It's just the 1, you think, but it has this special ability. You may choose to win this trick. So Frodo plays this one out, and anyone who has a ring card, oh hey, he doesn't, let's get rid of a low card. That was not a plan. Like, for example, Pippin, he stands here with a lot of ring cards. Let's give another ring card for Frodo. And Gandalf, without any more ring cards, what does he throw out? He throws out this 2, whatever. So Frodo wins these cards. By the way, you should have removed these ones that you chose, the characters, that's very important. So, put these on, now he's won 2 more. He's now got 3 in total, but he only needs to win 2. So to mark that Frodo has now completed his task and he cannot no longer lose his task, you put one like this on to mark it. And then you just continue playing. Frodo has to throw out, and now of course Bilbo, Pippin and Gandalf all has to think about their tasks. I mean, basically Bilbo and Gandalf just need to win a bunch of tricks, keeping Pippin away. I mean, it's 1 or more, 3 or more, just need to win a bunch of tricks. Now that was an example, of course. I would probably be thinking as the Bilbo player, when it's mountains, I would probably play that 8 out to get the mountain cards in. And maybe Gandalf will still play the ring card to flip this one over, because again, he needs to win 2 out of 5. So if he gets the ring cards out, there is a chance he can do it. It's a bunch of different material, but this is basically how we play. Each chapter adds new characters and new challenges. So let's get back to it. And there we go. So that is the setup for chapter 1. And the chapters all have the same setup. You take out the characters that will be used in this in the chapter, and then you shuffle up the cards. So what comes later in the game, how can I talk about this one? It's mainly just characters, but there's also some cards that you put on the side that interact with the game. So it adds to the difficulty of the game, but it does it very naturally.
And the characters have all kinds of different goals, ranging from a specific amount of tricks they need to win, of course, specific cards they need to win, or just, you know, I need to win the last trick, or I need to play this kind of card in the last trick, these kinds of things. But it introduces new ideas in a very smooth way. What I will say is that of 3 players, most of the incoming chapters will have a star at 3 characters, so you basically don't have a choice in later chapters if you're only playing 3 players. Didn't like that as much. I think having to, but like, you have to use 3 cards is a lot, even for 4 players. Then again, only one person gets to choose, and if that person chooses early, you're forced to take some characters. So I think they should have stuck around and figured it out with only 2 characters being like a must take for each chapter. Frodo is a given, of course. But the 3 characters remove this level of choice, obviously. But other than that, I think the following chapters works really, really well. There's a nice little snippet of the books that you can read out loud, and then a little read up on the challenges. Probably going to have to visit the rule book for some of the additional cards that arrives, you know, just to see, okay, so chapter whatever we get these kinds of cards. Let's just look up how do they work, just to make sure. But other than that, I think it works really well. I like trick taking. It's one of the few games that I can play with my family. They usually don't really want to play the heavy board games, but trick taking is one of the most common things amongst people who don't really play board games. It surprises me when people don't know how to play it, because it is such a common thing. For me at least, every like card game where you just use a deck of cards is basically a trick taking game. Most of them, if not all of them. So it's very easy to like teach my family. And trick taking, I really like trick taking. It's difficult to explain why. This thing of this tactical thinking of, okay, you just have to follow up. Do I want to win this trick? Do I want to pass on the trick? Or, you know, when you finally can throw out whatever you want to, do I throw out the mountain card that I have? Do I throw out the hill card that I have? How do I want to play this? Of course, all depending on what your goal is. And it works really, really great in a fairly simple package. And saying that, it is something that I experience is difficult to teach off, is trick taking, because it's apparently weird to understand. Whilst I think it's the most common thing in the world, that's how different we are, of course. But the gameplay of it is lovely, and this following the chapters is a great way of introducing new levels to it. There are rules in the back of the book to how you can just play a game without having to follow the chapter lineage, which I have not tried out. I like just playing through the chapters. I think that's a very, very great way to play the game. But maybe I'll explore that in later on. But yeah, that's all there is to say about gameplay. Of course, the thing about not leading tricks with the ring cards until they have been thrown out, I think that is a very, very interesting part to the game, making it a little bit more difficult for example, the Frodo player to win tricks, because otherwise you can just play that one out and go, give me your ring cards, I win. My task is complete. On Frodo, I think his 3-player variant is extremely difficult. It is very, very difficult to give him all of those ring cards. Like, he needs to win 4 out of 5. The 4-player one is a lot easier, because again, as soon as you can get them out, you play the 1 ring card and you have them. It's just my experience that it's very difficult at 3 players, more than 4 players. But yeah, let's talk about the components in here. So the few tiles that there are wooden, screen printed ones. Very lovely tiles that you don't use a lot, so it's nice to see that you made so much out of so little. And you have the cards, they are fine, good quality, but what really draws you in is that artwork. Very, very beautiful stained glass artwork. Looks amazing. Characters are a bit wonky, but you can immediately recognize what the characters are, and it is so amazing to see a different art style being used. It's the same for Lord of the Rings Duel from Middle-earth that there was last year, which also had a very unique kind of artwork. For a lot of the Lord of the Rings one, it has been the same artwork being used, and that is not to say that the artwork that you see, I can't remember who the artist is, but on Lord of the Rings, the Duel, or the Search that I reviewed last year as well, that artwork is very lovely. It very much is, but it's lovely to see some new artwork that can become iconic. The artwork is by Is this one of those where it doesn't say what the artwork is by? I hadn't even noticed. It looks like it doesn't say who did the artwork. But that is annoying. You should always tell who your artist is on the package. But it is a very amazing looking art for this game. Very small game. So yeah, those components are great. The theme, I mean, I love The Lord of the Rings. It's one of my favorite. Well, it is my favorite books. It is my favorite movies. Many of the games are my favorite games. The artwork is, and the theme for this one is fantastic. I think it's incorporated really greatly. Again, you introduce the characters in the chapters where it makes sense. Their ability, I wouldn't say their abilities make sense. The trick-taking game is quite an abstract affair. I mean, it does make sense for Frodo to win the ring cards. Bilbo and Gandalf just winning some tricks. Pippin winning the least, I can see why that works. Some of the later ones, it makes sense. Like there's some elves that arrive, of course they have something to do with the forest cards. A bit of spoiler there, I suppose, but that makes sense, of course. Just as an example, that's the one example I'm going to give. I don't want to get into it. So some of them make sense what you're trying, but trick-taking in general is quite abstract. So what you are doing is this thing of playing through the chapters, playing with these characters, and having fun. If you enjoy the Lord of the Rings universe, you could have a lot of fun with this one. So love the theme. It's greatly impacted onto here. So does it lie to you? And that is actually not like on the text or anything. It's right here. 20 minutes, 1 to 4 players, ages 10 and up. Now that 20-minute mark, I'm not quite sure what that means, because playing through all the chapters will take more than 20 minutes, but playing through just one chapter will probably take less than 20 minutes. So I don't really know what is up. Can't remember. Is there 18 chapters or something in it? Why can't I remember? Proceed after, yeah, I think there's like 18 chapters in here. It would give you a little bit more than 1 minute. It doesn't make sense for 20 minutes for the entire game, but it wouldn't take 20 minutes for one chapter, so I don't know what that 20-minute mark means. I would probably say about a half an hour. It gives you a little less than 2 minutes per chapter, and that sounds way more realistic than 20 minutes for playing through the entire thing. And again, 3-4 minutes for chapter 1 just to teach the rules and stuff. Maybe those time settings doesn't make any sense. They probably don't. But yeah, 20 minutes, I can't see where it is that they're putting that one in. 1 to 4 players. Again, I don't play solo. I can't see how trick-taking would work solo. I have heard about 4 Northwood, which is a solo trick-taking. I can't see it working solo at all. For me personally. At 3 and 4 is of course where the game just plays normally, and you can go through it. At 2 there's some special rules. You have to build like a pyramid of cards, and you have a secret third player or something. So yeah, it's a 3 or 4 player game, because at 2 or 1 you really just have to completely change the setup and completely change how you play. So it's a 3 or 4 player game with an optional 2 or 1 player game included, but it is a 3 or 4 player game to get what this game is all about. It's 3 or 4. You could probably expand it, honestly. I heard some jokes about the Fellowship of the Ring. It should be 1 to 9 players. Aha! In case you don't know, the Fellowship of the Ring has 9 members. Should know that. But I could definitely see this working at 5 or 6 as well. Of course, for that chapter 1, who do you include? I mean, you included Pippin, but not Sam. Just Sam and Mary added in chapter 1, and then you have a 1 to 6 player game where it would work really well at 3 to 6. That is at least my belief. I mean, you could just, all the cards go to 8 only. If you can expand them up to 10, then you get a handful extra, or expand them up to 12. I mean, yes, does it make it more difficult? Yes. Do you have more cards? Yes. Does it take a little bit longer? Yes. But it works. The great thing about trick-taking games is how much you can expand them. Many trick-taking games take a standard 52 card deck and can be played up to like 10 players, because then you have 5 cards each, and that's bare minimum actually. Right, so expand the game a little bit more and drop that 2 or 1 play game and say this is a 3 to 6 play game. Age 10 and up. Again, if you grew up in a household like me, you knew how to play trick-taking game at like 6 years old. Okay, maybe exaggerating there, but you knew how to play trick-taking games at a very young age, so that's fine. trick-taking games to me, just I can't see them being very complicated. I know some people will disagree with me. That's how it is. So, what is my final score here? Now that 1 to 2 player thing is luckily not taking up much space. I would wish for it to be a higher player count, but 3 or 4 it works really, really well at. So it is not the greatest complaint that I have for it there. But as always with these kinds of things, that is enough to drag it down to a 9 out of 10. Everything else is an absolute 10 out of 10. I love trick-taking, I love the rings, I love the artwork. It just works really, really well. The chapters work really, really, really well in choosing to expand the game a little bit more, so making it more complicated, but doing it in a natural way. So yeah, it is that player count thing, but it means a lot to me with the player counts. If you do a proper job with player counts, then a game can be really, really great and really enjoyed. They haven't done a great job with player count here. I think there's something to work on there, but so it is a 9 out of 10. Am I keeping it? Of course I am. It's a small little compact game that fits right into my shelf. I have reorganized my shelf over there for my Lord of the Rings games, so there's room for more. I found a place that sells some Lord of the Rings games fairly cheaply, so I might be getting those. On that note, does anyone know what the Middle-earth expandable card game is? Because it doesn't exist on YouTube or on Board Game Geek, it just exists in this one website, and they don't have a picture of it or anything, so do I trust it or not? Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!